but most important, and that's Agile.
Gotta do it.
Shut up! Let me do this. I am the Agile Alchemist, and tonight with me is Bryan, and we'll be talking about the Agile methodology and its applications.
Excellent.
So, Bryan, tell us a little bit about yourself.
My name's Bryan. I've been involved in Agile for around 3-4 years now. It was a solution to a lot of problems that I didn't really know that I had. Like I knew I had these issues, but finding the Agile approach to things, everything sort of clicked, and then I leaned in, and now everything in life pretty much makes sense.
Awesome.
Not to oversell it, but it literally does. So I'm very happy to be here. So
Awesome.
Thanks for having me.
Good to have you, man. Good to have you. So, tell me, like, everywhere out there, especially in companies and especially South Africa, everyone would throw around the word being agile, be agile, or be iterative, and all that kinds of stuff. What's in your words? And that, I don't want any like scripted stuff or anything like that. But
100%.
What do you think agile, the agile methodology is?
So the Agile methodology for me is a little bit mislabeled, and I think a few other people will also call it mislabeled, where it's not actually a methodology, it's a philosophy.
Okay.
It's a principle. So, you can look at the 4 guiding values, followed by the 12 principles, followed by all of the practices, and all the practices being Scrum, XP, Lean, whatever. Like, those are all your tools in the toolbox that you can use to implement being agile. But
Gotcha.
it's not really a methodology. There's no like set structure to it, because that makes it not agile. So that's why, for me personally, there's a little bit of a mislabeling. Like, I wouldn't call it erroneous, but yeah, it's just
So
not 100%.
So how would you label agile?
I would call it a philosophy.
Okay.
I would call it philosophy, a principle and philosophy, because you don't have to be, you don't take on practices like a daily stand-up, and that makes you agile. That actually is quite dangerous, especially for a lot of companies in South Africa who don't understand being agile straight off the bat. They think, cool, we'll do 15-minute stand-ups every morning. And all they're doing is actually micromanaging, and it's a very toxic behavior. So you got 20 people in a room, which is too big.
Cool.
And each person's trying to give an update that they've got to cram into 15 minutes. There's no set planning session. It's just a stand-up. It's a daily report. Now you're literally micromanaging 20 people and taking that opportunity to air out whatever they've done wrong, and there's no safety net. There's no failing and experimenting and being iterative. There's none of that. It's literally just Monday stand-up, Tuesday stand-up, Wednesday stand-up, and no one wants to be in that environment. Like I personally find that very toxic. I've been there, hated it, bailed.
It's actually a very interesting word that you use there, is the toxicity in companies that kind of force agile, or what their thinking is of agile, onto teams and companies and stuff like that. So just in your own experience, how did that toxicity affect the teams and the projects that you were a part of?
Well, you see, this is the thing, is that there wasn't a project. It was literally just daily work, like warehousing. What's your update? Oh, we took in so many deliveries today.
I moved the box today.
And
So no value. So no value comes out of it.
Because the immediate question after that was, cool, you got so many deliveries today, how many breakages? So, 3 breakages. Oh, okay, well, that's being deducted.
Wow. And then
That's
in a stand-up form.
In a stand-up format in front of everyone. And it's not just warehousing.
Yeah.
Then it's finance. then it's logistics, then it's operations, and literally 2 bosses just going through everything with a fine-tooth comb. It was horrible.
Because if I think about the Agile methodology and everything, in my head, it's more about, and hence the podcast name Iterative, because it's so important to learn from your mistakes and kind of work from there. And I can just imagine in an environment like that where it's almost like borderline toxic, like you said, like pointing fingers at people, which Agile is, it's literally people over process. And
Exactly that.
they are taking that completely out of it and putting it into like negatively into the teams and stuff.
Exactly, and this is like the reason why it was one of the biggest things that I wanted to bring up tonight is how people cherry pick and then label themselves. So someone cherry picked the daily stand-up and SMART goals. That was their thing. Daily stand-up and SMART goals. Now we're Agile.
Yeah.
Absolutely not.
Yeah.
You're not Agile. Because, and okay, so let's rewind a little bit to my personal experience. I suffer a little bit from sort of ADD / shiny object
doesn't?
syndrome.
You're not unique. Don't worry about it.
So I can plan and I can plan and I can plan, but I would never pull the trigger on anything. I wouldn't execute anything. And that was my problem. Then I found the sort of safety net in failing is okay.
Yeah.
Like, actually, there is no failure. There's learning. Failing is giving up. Failing is stopping. That's failing. So, okay, cool. I'm going to learn how to code. I'm going to learn how to build a desk. I'm going to learn whatever.
Yeah.
The first time I do it, I'm hands down going to suck.
Yeah.
That no one is born with these skills. So
I'm born pretty awesome. That's okay. No,
But-
I definitely get where you're coming from.
like 100%, we are going to suck. Okay, cool. Suck and suck well.
Yeah.
And then the next time you'll suck less. The next time you'll suck less. And then eventually you're going to be bashing this out.
Okay. Very interesting thing that you say there. So, yes, Agile shouldn't be used in kind of micromanagement and all that kinds of stuff. So my question then to you is, how do you treat a client with a budget? Because remember, now, yes, we are, let's say for instance, we are 100% Agile. So it means innovation, iterative, improving as we go along, but how long is a client going to pay for that kind of, I don't want to say, I don't want to say agileness for it, but if it comes down to a client's budget, how do you then still have the Agile methodology, but then within a budget? I think that's also something that we need to like kind of chat about, because every client in the world loves Agile, or like you say,
The idea of Agile.
But when it comes down to the rands and cents and everything, it's you still have a budget, you still have a deadline. So how do you manage that?
So, you see, the thing is, everyone wants Agile because there are pros to it, like we're going to show you iterative growth over the product as we deliver. Like at the end of every iteration, there's a deliverable product. That's why it's there. We're not going to just do a 3-week sprint and at the end of it go, we've done 3 weeks worth of work. There is a deliverable at the end of that 3 weeks to say, cool, this is it. Client can then interface with that, react, go, well, actually, a little change here, a little tweak there.
Cool.
But it does boil down to really good planning.
Yeah.
Because without that really good planning, you're going to get a lot of scope creep from the client side, because they're going to realize, actually, I didn't want this. This is what I actually want. And now we start, logging change requests, and we start pivoting, and how far off track are we going to go? Because all of that affects budget.
That sounds like waterfall to me.
Exactly.
Don't you think?
It is.
Okay.
And it's all a balancing act. Like, this isn't science. This isn't hard fact, cool, 3-week sprint, 1 week off, review, demo, that's it, and we'll deliver product in 6 months' time. It's not that, because you've got either a team who is still learning, you've got a client who doesn't 100% understand either their market or the product that they want, they haven't thought of something, you might get all the way down the line and realize that someone else is beating you to market. Like, there are so many different things. So yes, it's a balancing act. There's an art to it, a whole bunch of configurables up in the air. Budget is a big one. Time is the other one. So, cool, I can deliver you a product for R1 million in 6 months. I can't deliver the same product in 3 months, even if it's R2 million. Like, there's a time factor. You can't move that. And trying to stick to a budget, you've got to allocate all your priorities to the client to say, cool, you want this top 10 list. Those are your must-to haves. After that, they're your nice-to-haves. And after that, like, very nice to have, cherries on top, we'll get there. So that, it's that balancing act that you really need to sort of entertain and openly communicate with the client, the team. It's all about flow.
And that's part of the Agile methodology and the process is that client interaction. So I think from my side, I always have this theory of, if you tell the client the truth up front, and as things happen, including them into the development team, then it's a lot better managing expectations and items like that.
Yeah.
But I also think, from my side, I don't think South Africa is geared for 100% agile delivery teams or even.
No, there is a lack of trust, and this is a big thing for me.
Okay.
Because agile is people over process, working good application over contracts.
Gotcha.
Which is all well and good, but then what happens when you don't have working application? You've run out of time. The fallback is therefore the contract.
Yeah.
And this is why I say it's a balancing act, because you can't be, we're agile and we don't believe in contracts, and we'll give you your software and we might have to extend a little bit. Like, there's a whole other planning session on the other side with the client going, we've got to deploy at this date, we've got to get clients in. On their side, they've got to be earning money.
Because remember, they have ROIs, they've got marketing behind it, they've got 100%. Everything scheduled. Something interesting that you mentioned a couple of times now is planning. A lot of new companies that actually adapt the agile methodology or the agile way of doing things kind of throw planning out the way. What's your thought around that?
Okay, so I've been in a startup environment and I've been in corporate environment. Startup environment, you get one entrepreneur. He is the specialist in everything. He's the marketing, he's the development, he's front end, back end, he does everything. Then he can't do everything himself. So he's got to scale up and he's got to hire a bunch of generalists. So the generalists, you've got one guy doing front end and back end, you've got one guy doing marketing and emails and phone calls, whatever. It's a little bit of mix and match. Then you get to corporate. And some people don't like corporate, but unfortunately, I love it. Everyone has their set lane where this is your roles and responsibilities. You are hyper specialized. So one person does planning, one person does review, one person does testing, one person does dev. That is your role. And because you know your role, it just flows so much better. And you're not trying to wear multiple hats, because that's where the ball gets dropped. And planning, that specialization is paramount.
See, I think I'm going to contradict you a little bit about that one, because I feel that if you have a team which, how can I say it, that has all the capabilities and all the specialities that you're talking to or talking about, is you'll get better results if you have a guy wearing multiple hats. Because remember, the saying goes,
Jack of all trades.
Jack of all trades.
The full say.
The full saying says, I'd rather have a guy that knows a little bit than one guy that knows one thing.
Exactly.
So, all right. So, with the discussion that we had now with Agile methodology and everything, how do you get teams and even companies to adopt the Agile way?
So I think teams and companies will adopt the Agile way once they see the benefit to it. And the benefit's either going to be cost, production, time.
Okay.
The thing is, they are seeing that in other companies and cherry picking. Like I said, so they cherry picking the practices and then labeling it as Agile because it's a selling point. You know, we are Agile, so we can deliver faster, whatever the marketing slang is for it. But it all boils down to trust. You've got to trust your employees that when they say, I worked on this yesterday and I'm doing this today and I'm, making good ground, and they're delivering on what they say they're going to do.
Yeah.
The company and the team members and management, which has always been very, bureaucratic, hierarchical, and even like that level of trust needs to be there. And it's not just we trust you. They've actually got to grow it. You've got to earn that trust, because say for example the Scrum team. The Scrum team needs to operate as a network, not a hierarchy, where it's cross-pollination of skills, of tasks, of the work. So if something happens to any individual member on the team, the rest of the team can either pick up the load, or they can cover, or they help each other out.
Yeah.
And they're self-managing, self-guiding. Whereas the hierarchical is, I want this feature. Make me this. Do it as I say.
So I think something that I heard now is the word trust. There's always this advert somewhere that goes, trust isn't given, it's earned.
Yeah.
But earning something always takes time. So basically what, and correct me if I'm wrong, but basically what you're saying is Agile is not a overnight, hey, boom, you're Agile. It's even the implementation of Agile is iterative.
Yes, 100%. Okay. Because, you've got values, principles, and then your practices.
Yeah.
And your practices can chop and change even within the same team. So if you have now set up Scrum, this is our way we do it. We do Scrum. So we do 3-week sprints, 1 week off, review, demo, etc. If team member number 1 moves on and you replace team member number 1, and then team member number 2, number 3, number 4, number 5, and eventually, say 3 years later, you've now got a completely new team. Scrum might not work for them. They might be better suited to XP or Lean. That's the practice. That Scrum isn't Agile, it's the practice of how you handle your day-to-day operations.
That kind of Agile mindset of, trying to improve every time, look back at what you've done and fix your mistakes and move on.
Exactly, 100%. So now, because you're just sticking to the Scrum pattern, you're in an anti-pattern. You're not being Agile anymore. You're forcing a framework or a working method on a team that might not be suited for that.
Okay, so this is now once the team has evolved,
exactly,
and self-sufficient or self-sustaining and everything, then they can kind of take that and adapt to even the client's change. Exactly. Let's say, for instance, the client needs something or they need a process implemented, then they can go from there.
Exactly that.
Yeah.
Because one of my favorite sayings is fail quick and often. Okay. Because the safety of not failing. If you knew that you couldn't fail, what would you do?
Okay.
What would you do?
Yeah.
And then let me ask you the flip of that. Okay. I tell you, you're going to write a test at the end of the year, and it's your make and break test. That's it.
Yeah.
One test. You pass, fail.
Sure.
How much pressure do you feel throughout the year until you get to that test? How much stress?
Getting
do you
a little
feel?
bit of anxiety just kind of thinking about it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Whereas every day it's like 1 + 1. What is it? It's 3. No, it's not. It's 2. Like, okay, cool. You made a mistake, but we learn.
Yeah.
And then we build on it. We build on it. We build on it.
Okay.
By the end of the year, you failed 365 times.
Okay.
But you've learned so much more. There's no stress.
But that's
anxiety.
the thing. Like, how do you get your team to accept failure, but also get them to learn from it? Because if I fail, I feel pretty much like a failure. So how do you get your guys to, yes, it's okay to fail, but how do you get them over that hump of it's okay to fail?
It is a mindset thing.
Okay.
It really is. And with software developers, and I don't want to stereotype, but it is a bit of a stereotype. Software developers are soft-spoken people. They generally are. So failure to them is like, I've let myself down, I've left my team down, like I didn't do this good enough, whatever. So you really got to put the wind in their sails and just let them know that this is their playground, this is their arena. They are actually gladiators here. They are triumphant. It doesn't matter. No one's going to die. It's not the end of the world. It's okay. Yeah, that whole, is it a bug? Is it a feature? Did we break something? Did we make something? That comes up a lot because we are actually figuring out what's the best way to do this. And we figure that out by failing, by breaking it, and by going, actually, there's probably a better way to do this.
So, like you said now, with the trust, it's not just from like higher ups down, or Scrum Masters or project managers and Exco level trusting the people below, but it's also having the developers or the guys on the ground trusting the people above them. Okay.
And each other.
And
each other. Because if developer one says, cool, I will have this, this part of my assignment ready for you tomorrow for you to pick up on, because there could be dependencies. You want to try and avoid it, obviously, in the planning, but it happens. Like one person can't work until the other person has finished off. And going back to having a planner involved, that's why we sort of look at the prioritization of whatever elements are going into a sprint to say, cool, this one we're going to address first, because without this we can't do this.
Gotcha. So basically, for the people out there, Agile isn't a free-for-all, don't plan, no documentation, just wing it. It's plan for the period that you're going to develop, or your iteration or sprint that you mentioned. So you do the correct planning, or you do the planning for that 2-3 weeks, however long your sprint is. And then also, if a change comes in from the client side, it gets documented, it gets noted down, and like an audit trail of the changes and everything happening. I think that's also a very good factor or that you mentioned, trust, is you get the client's trust as well, right? Because they see features and development every 2 weeks or 3 weeks or however long your iteration is, because then they can see the value. Okay.
And one thing like I personally try to lean towards on projects is we figure out how's the client going to make money from this?
Wow.
What is the quickest way for us to get a transaction for the client through the door? Okay. Do we need a full landing page with login and security and catalog and credit card and Bitcoin transaction and this, and marketing in order to sell a pair of shoes that the client is selling? No, we don't. We literally need a single photo of a pair of shoes, price, click buy. Like that is the quickest way.
Okay.
So let's get that POC'd, like proof of concept. Get that transaction through, and then start fleshing out. So that for me is my like sort of personal strategy of, as soon as the client can see I've got a successful transaction, this is where my money's coming in. Pressure's off.
Because the analogy I always use is going around a racetrack. It's not about what kind of car you start off with. It's just getting started. So I always say using a skateboard just to get off the line. Regardless of how quick you're going to go around the track, it's just you getting off the line. So it kind of ties into that whole POC, MVP, most... almost said most valuable player, but
minimal viable product.
There we go. Thank you so much. Thank goodness I've got people smarter than me on the podcast. So, but it's but it's also that the trust that the client has in you to execute on that and further develop it as they want it.
Yeah.
It also feels like it's more of a relationship with a client rather than a client company or a client supplier kind of thing.
100%. And, then that again goes back to the values of people over processes and, working applications over contracts.
Yeah.
Because yes, there is a final product that we want to deliver in a set amount of time, in a set amount of budget, and we want to give it our best. But there's likelihood that it's not going to happen. Like, it's a very strong likelihood that it's not going to happen. That's just the way projects run. A saying that I heard once is like, if everything goes according to plan, something's wrong. Because that's what happens. So it's never going to be 100% perfect. You won't have all of the features. But if you can get to market with a functioning product that people can use and the client can generate revenue off of that, then you've structured that relationship where you are showing your client incredible support and interest in the success of their product. It's not just Indian dev farm whatever that's like, cool, we'll make you an app, copy paste, we don't care once it's done, just like that's where people got burnt, because outsourcing cheap
and that's also a thing that I noticed, because everyone kind of clients are very wary of interacting with companies that do agile because they've got burned so many times, because like you said, there wasn't enough trust, or it was a toxic environment that they bought into, and now it's just kind of burnt for the rest of us. So it's a really difficult thing getting a client's buy-in with agile, but I don't know.
But you see, this is the bureaucratic top-down view where I pay you X amount of money that's written on this piece of paper, and you're going to give me the product that I want. That is the contract, the exchange, which I'm not saying that we can undo or just ignore because we want to be agile and freely wheelie, because you can't. Like, when things go sideways, unfortunately, you lean on the contract. That's why it's there. But if we establish that trust at the beginning to say, I want to give you the best possible product, and this is where we've got to be customer centric, where it's all about servicing the customer. It's not about, I think this would be a good idea, and the customer doesn't really know what he wants, and we're going to make it better, or whatever. Service the customer. Establish that relationship where you will do everything in your power to make sure that their product does really well. That's a relationship that will last literally a lifetime.
That's awesome.
So
that's pretty cool. That's really, really cool. So I think to kind of finish off the Agile methodology chat that we're having now is, do you have any tips on implementing, or like just little bits that we can share with the guys to go, hey, these are the things you need to look out for, or this is kind of a set way of that you can implement Agile and the process?
So all value and the values and the principles would be the leading factors. Ignore the practices. I'm not saying, okay, let me rephrase, not ignore them, but don't give them as much weight as you think. So if we do daily stand-ups, that'll solve it. It won't. So realize that if we're going to be agile, why are we being agile? What is the point? To be agile is to trust our staff, to deliver on whatever service it is. I mean, it could literally be HR, marketing, finance, operations, whatever it is. But just trust them, empower them to make their own decisions. And I'm not saying free rein, let them go, but just allow them to make mistakes, because they're not going to learn if you don't let them make mistakes.
Yeah.
And they're literally going to stand there like toy soldiers every morning going, I did this yesterday, I'm doing this today.
Yeah.
There is zero value in that.
Yeah.
Have an overarching idea of what is the end goal, what is the outcome. Break it down into chunks, break those chunks down to bytes, and break those bytes down to recipes. And then just tick them off, one by one, one by one, one by one. Because if I wanted to become a pro boxer, I can't go to the gym and, by the end of the day, I'm pro boxer. No.
Yeah.
It's going to take me a really, really, really long time. I've got to up my stamina, up my skills, up my strength, whatever. Like, I'm not a boxer.
Yeah.
And it will take me a really long time, but it's an iterative process of literally failing every day.
Yeah.
Getting your head punched in every day to get to the final outcome of, okay, I can do this.
Awesome. So I think the last kind of question and discussion I want to have with you is, what is your feeling around the Agile methodology within non-technical companies? Because Agile is always thrown around for delivering software, right? So do you think there's a place for the Agile methodology, even Scrum or stand-ups and all the artifacts in non-technical companies?
100%, I believe it. So, real estate.
Cool.
Real estate, you develop nothing.
Yeah.
You deliver what? You're marketing a house and you're dealing with client facing.
Yeah.
That's it. So how do you implement Agile in real estate?
Yeah.
Well, if you break down the tasks of what every person needs to do each day in order to reach the goal, and this is the trick, of servicing the client, not selling a house.
Yeah.
Selling a house is not the goal. That is the byproduct. The byproduct of servicing the client. Engaging in conversation, following up on every lead, making an effort to pitch up every day, pick up the phone, answer the email. Those are your daily tasks.
Yeah, I can see the user story and the tasks in my mind as you go around. Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah. Okay.
Do all those things.
Yeah.
The sale of the house will come. It will.
That's awesome.
So yeah, 100%. Any industry, you can do it.
That's awesome. Well, Bryan, thanks so much for joining us tonight. Thanks for the chat. Really
Anytime.
appreciate it. And that's it.
Thank you to our sponsor, Agile Bridge. Their unique blend of experience, accreditation, and in-depth business knowledge drive the crafting of integrated and empowering software solutions to medium and large corporate clients. Find out more by visiting agilebridge.co.za or send an email to info@agilebridge.co.za.